But oh, dude, you're relentless, dude. That's so funny. All right. So let's again, we're gonna start today by going over your guys' homework. Yesterday we covered and obviously tried to identify the boxes. Shout out to Mailman, again for helping me elaborate on the actual touches, right? That one, two, three waves inside of the box. And so today we're gonna make sure that that's what you guys are seeing. Uh, uh, what the heck is that? Somebody just dropped something on my doorstep. I already wait. Okay. So starting this off, when moon, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'll accept it. Very good. Perfect. Love it. That's what we want to see. Very good. Fuck yeah. I'll accept it for sure. Look at the candle close over cost basis, right? You get a little bit of, that's why these higher time frame setups, if you were on the 5 minute, right, that candle wouldn't, we hadn't lost anything. So especially on the lower time frame, I'm sure you could have chalked that up, but you get a nice build outside of the box. AVGO is one you want to have a good expiration on. I hold quite a bit of shares of this mother. Absolutely, right? And this is also something that could possibly translate to a weekly box, I'm sure. But 1, 2, 3, 4, right? The waves. This one leaks out a little bit, but obviously we can see that right there as a point of contact, that wick. So good job on that one. Very good. All right, let's see. And you got ONDS. Very good. There we go, guys. Love it. Isaac Rivers. You got to explain that name to me. You Poison Rivers or something? I'm just kidding. Let's see. 1, 2. I see double points right there. I think it's probably something that we could argue about dropping the top of it down, but you did a good job. Yeah, no, you know what? That's it. We'll leave it at that. So not bad. It looks like you broke that down. Oh, did I not see that? Oh, I didn't even see that the first time. Yeah, very good. Very good. All right. UNH. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Nice cost basis bounce there, right? Good stuff. All right, you guys got it. Love this. You got to be missing data. Is that what that looks like? Maybe it does. That's a tough one. There it is. For some reason I don't know. It feels like you might not have that data. That being said, uh, you've located the right area, but I think that probably argue that that wick, that body, that wick is the top of that box. But other than that, you got the floor. All right, let's see what we got here. Not that one. I'm sure that's your lower time frame one. Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, I'll accept that, right? Candles next to each other, but you do and can identify clear waves. Obviously this is super translatable to the lower time frame. So love that. Good stuff. That definitely needs some work, right? Your floor is here. You see where my cursor is? Right along that floor. You see the body, wick. That's one. You got an equal high right here as well. So I would say that that's the box you actually punch through. That's more of a retest range. All right. Lock in. Apple. Very good. Very good, Big Poppy. Love that. Good points of contact. All right. Mm, what do you think you might have gone wrong on this one, King? I'll give you an opportunity to fix this in the chat. What do you think what do you think you might have gone wrong on this? You can call on the chat for help. You can call a friend hotline. You've got 30 seconds. calling a friend. So I'm not going to argue, right? And this is important, right? What is this, King? What do we think that is? And why did it bounce here? Right. There you go, Blinka. Sorry, I didn't mean to mispronounce your name. Yes. So what is this, chat? What is this? That's range, right? Not now again, the weekly, right? And some part of me, right, could definitely argue um about could argue man, chill out. Um could argue that yes, you've got the points of contact. So I you picked one that is kind of you gave yourself a trick question. But you would be missing out by just I think I would have accepted this if you would have drawn a box here as well, right? So I think that, maybe we could just leave this or chalk this up to leaving that out, when that is ultimately more important than what, you went up, you built, consolidated, popped out. This is what would essentially give you the signal, right? Because if you punch down through this box, you lose that wick. What's likely to happen? You're going to lose this floor. You're promised a new low. So what are you going to get? You're going to get that third leg down. But it's also, and again, so one, it's the same thing, right? You don't have to wait for this. Even if you did say this is cost basis, you don't have to wait for that. You know that if you lose this wick, you're promised a new low, and you can start looking at that 190, or what is that one? I'm going to say 198. Did everybody pick up on what I just said? So let me explain this on my chart. Wee wee. So let's check this out. So agreeable, right? That this is absolutely a range for sure, right? Or rather has the makeup of being a box with the majority of the volume, right? Listen here. The majority of the volume is here. So if this is a box, which it is, and we punch down, lose this top, get sucked underneath that red candle, what do you think is likely to happen, right? Cost basis. If cost basis promises me, hold on, we'll argue with that in a minute. Um, Promises me a new low, then ultimately we're leaving this range when we break this cost basis, right? You might get a little bit of sideways down here, but the target would be a new low. So you would be able to have a kind of a perfect target, right? And I would say that that first target would probably be right there, right? On a lower time frame. Let me check myself. Damn, I'm good. That was fire. Look at that. That's a box, baby. So by losing this, right, on the 24-hour, you get basically that target there. And then obviously that's where you would look for that trigger. That is a box and a trigger to a potential new low, right? So check this out, right? This is cool. You get this, you get this, right? At that point, if you're somebody who took a longer expiration short position, you would be looking for this to break because then you'd get that. Feel me? On so I'm not gonna again. You did a good job. You did everything that I asked you to do. But we gotta. I think obviously layer on the extra stuff. I want you guys to really be breaking down these. What's uh, where those sideways candles are. Right. We don't want to leave those out. So all right, good stuff. That's why we do this homework so we can go over stuff like that. All right, number two. Hmm. I think you're on the money. but I think you left too much out. You gave this thing a low top fade when we need one of those poofy Q-tip haircuts, right? So peep game on this one. Where the hell did you do that? Okay, over here. I think I like it there and there. But I also, okay. All right, so this was actually the juice. You dip down, punch through, and that's why you had such an issue. So this is, so you know what? Long and short of this is, oh God, that's not my favorite. So we'll focus on this 24 hours. So I think right here, right, kind of where you got that candle body wick, and then I really think it's here, right? And one of the reasons that I think it's here, oh, come back here. Okay, it's doing that shit to me here. All right, now look at these candle closes. Fight, right? So the floor doesn't exactly line up. You also chose kind of a interesting stock to do this one on, but I mean it does work. So I think just extend the box up and that's it. Otherwise, identification, we got it. All right, high stakes. I see the two wick. Yeah, see the two wicks right there. Bring that up. Oh wait. You have the box. You have the box up here on this floor, and then there's a wick there. Okay, yeah. You know what? You're right. So the two wicks right there, I would probably double check on those. The top doesn't seem like you have a real clear top on that one. That's okay. Obviously, the idea is just to encapsulate that range, which I seem to have here as well. Okay, good cost basis right there. Good retest. And let's see what those wicks are down below. Okay, so you definitely need to be here with it on the 4, but otherwise the 24 hours good. All right, let's see here. Tesla. It seems like that wick and that body line up. You don't have a lot of. You know what? I think you nailed it with that wick right there. Your floor is perfect. Wild whippy cost basis, but you definitely punch back for sure. Yeah, so that looks good. Yeah, that one's good. I think little discrepancy here, but that in itself, I think shows that that is the high. So, all right, let's see here. Magic Maniac. Tap 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 tap. Okay, yeah, love it. Oh, I know what that is. 1, 2, pull back. So that one again, kind of almost could be its own box by itself. But I think as a range, I don't know, kind of leaving this out here as well. But let's see, what is that? Oracle 24-hour time frame. Is that what it just popped out of? Yeah, I have it. I think I have mine just yeah, like that. And then it's got to be a really interesting open there. All right. Let's see here. I didn't get what you meant by rotations. Did you mean punch? If so, last two. That's what I want to see right there. Yeah, this is actually a punch back. So you actually do go make a new high. But good job. Yeah, that's a box. Great job. Great job. Damn. All right, Empress, 2 for 2. Great job. Perfect. Bang. I'm sure you could argue that maybe the floor's dropped a little lower, but top looks good. Yeah, top's perfect. Damn, nice job. Okay. Love that. Okay, yeah, you pulled those in. You know what this looks like? It looks like a range because you get the two, 1, 2, and then you actually do make a new low, right? So I mean, kind of a punchback, right? Because you technically go and punch through this, but you get pulled right back down to that floor, and then you launch up and out. So arguable on that one. Yeah. Okay, so you actually I would assume you have a lower time frame box right here, but otherwise impressive, nice. Those were absolutely clear. The exact kind of boxes that we want to see. Mm. That a breakout doesn't count as unless it's again, uh, so you would only have one at the top on this VRT chart. So floor, I would rather pull it up. Even the wicks are a little bit more lined up, but I'd rather again most recent price action. So you're going to be focused on like that floor, not that one. Um, but you only have one off the top, so it can't that one doesn't work. You're cutting out a whole bunch of price action, wick, right? Body, same point. So I would bring that box down. All right, farm boy. Good. Good. This is actually a box that got punched through, my guy. So bring that floor up to right there. But that is correct. Right? That floor right there. Bam, bam. And then you hold yourself here, but that's not, again, you make a new low and then you have to consolidate before you get that punch back. But that's the punch back right there. Let's see, TSM. Yes. Yeah. That's a punch back. Good box. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yep, perfect. Love that. Good job, Radar. Don't yell at me. Teach. I swear this has been charted since 2 weeks ago. You said don't yell at you? Now I just want to yell at you, dude. Excuse me. Hmm. I would say you need a 4 hour chart. You got to have a 4 hour chart on this one. So let's look at this together. Is that what you charted? Yeah. 20. Oh, you did this just before class. Yeah, so this is definitely something that let's go over what happened here. It looks like you had a yes, this is bearish, right? You pop up 1, 2, 3. You only have one real bounce there, right? You make a new high, fail, get stuck back underneath, gap down under cost basis, drop down to the floor, make a new low, go back up to cost basis, retest, drop, make a new low, and then you flush down to the structure over to your left. So you could argue that this is more. See how when we go to the 4 hour, it's a little bit better. Oh, but again, guys, empty space fills. Look at that. Oh, disgusting. But if it's not clear, right? If it looks like this on the 24 hour, we do not compromise, folks. It is absolutely imperative that we're looking for boxes when they are absolutely clear, right? Like the Zillow box. So when we don't see, we zoom in. If it's not there, probably not worth it, right? So just again, if in adherence to my strategy, we got that's what we're looking for specifically. And that's where we catch these, big ones, or just good ones. Um, wick, wick. So you did a good job of there. Okay. 50%. Yeah. Candles hold that. Yeah, yeah. You know what? Yeah. One, two, three. New low, third, dip back up. Yeah, I'll accept that for sure. Mm, I would say this is a range, right? And this is you more or less building a box. You stutter at the top of that range, and then you go for the wick overhead. And honestly I would be more tempted to give it the wick, right? The two wicks right here, because you might be building a much, and I've never even heard of this stock. Maybe I've seen it somewhere. What was it again? RZLZ or B? Or yeah, so you see what I'm saying here? You got, looks like almost, maybe not right off of the same point, close enough. And then looks like, oh, green candle's a green candle, right? That's my floor. See how you have to try to pull yourself back up. And then this almost becomes its own range. So you could actually come to the conclusion possibly that this is still, I don't know, maybe I do just give it the floor. Hmm. I would say your top has got to be the wicks, and perhaps your floor is correct. I would go ahead and just leave it off of the floor. So I would just correct the top. You got a lot of points of contact there too. Hmm. It's still bullish that you closed inside of those green candles, but it's a weird chart. I mean, the points of contact, you do have clear ones at 283, but you also have pretty clear ones at 293, which, today's high only confirms that. So curious. So how again, that might be a little bit confusing. How do you react, right, to 293? Do you gap up above it, right? Then clearly no. If this does experience a rejection, then this whole thing would absolutely be the box. Did I take? Yes, I did. I took Tesla short with two 415 calls as a hedge, just in case it pops off the top and goes long. But yeah, I did. I did. Points of contact are on point, give or take. I'll give you the same thing here as well on the top. So yeah, it is a box. Definitely a box. All right, let's see. Rivian, which man, I sold some today. Finally. Um, one, two, three. Obviously, I know this box pretty well, so yeah, it's a box. I'd probably do it the same way. Yeah, I'd say the wick. This is questionable, right? Because it's tempting to maybe bring that down. What is this stock again? Reddit. Reddit. Do you wick off that? No, you don't. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, good job on that one, Sabrit. Ooh, okay. So this one, that this right here, guys, we can't have that, right? Because this is a range, right? One, and then you dip down, make a new low, right? And then push back up and only hit the top. I would actually say that right there is probably a lower time frame box in which this can't push over. So I can't give that one to you as a box. I do see the equal lows, which is great, but it doesn't qualify with those rotations. Very good. Good job, Colleen. Yes. Gap up outside, new high. Points of contact are pointing towards contact. crazy, huh? Just talked about this one. Yes, on this box for sure. Um, this is one that punched up, built another box, popped up, punched through its own box, made a new low, same equal low, gapped back up, grabbed the floor, retested, consolidated at cost basis, shot up, hit the old cost basis, and then today, or off of earnings, exploded. So yes, those are very much boxes. Pretty sweet. Now JM, not a box. Not even by a long shot. You got 3 points of contact. So where are we getting confused on this one? Talk to me. Do you feel like going over this homework has cleared up a few things? Stop shorting Tesla? I'm not going to do that. This is going to sound crazy. Raise bottom? No, there's no box here. There's the only box that I would be able to possibly call for is here, right? In this zone range. That probably is a lower time frame box. But this whole thing, that's not a box. So if price falls out of a box and comes in, it has to start over. It has to create something equal to be the Potter box. Yeah. Okay. So is it going through the homework just now, right? Would you like right over here? Do you see this that I'm hovering over? That's more of a box, right? This could qualify closer to being a box, right? Or if anything, range. And you'll notice, guys, this doesn't happen, right? There are boxes every day, all the time, on everything, right? But the higher time frame boxes, it's difficult to control price. Who do you think can establish that control? Institutions, right? Big boys. So if they're there, right, that means that's where the volume is. That means they're going to move it in a certain direction. So the cleaner the box, the more I can rely on that to be a real signal. Pearl, hold on 1 second. I got to evict an animal. Nope. You got it. All right. Yeah. So 24-hour boxes. It's not every day that we get one, right? So when we do, that's when we're, trying to focus on the fact that it is clean. And usually, I say not every day, but like think about it. There are thousands and thousands of stocks. So if you've got one, money's moving elsewhere, it's always available. It doesn't mean you're always chasing the next one. You try to take typically my method is, I take couple and or two or three and then sit back and look for the next watch list. Yeah, the breathe in and breathe out analogy. Yeah, I mean, that is exactly. Yeah, the market consolidates, breathes in, and this is the sideways action and breathes out. And this is a cycle that every single stock on earth does. It breathes in, it goes sideways, and then if it has the money and volume, it goes, it breathes out, it moves. And this is, I see, I think maybe this is the reason I don't go viral, but not that I want, but the fact of the matter is if people really just took a look, right, at the higher time frame and then looked at their P&L, and then especially those people who decide that, oh, I only trade QQQ and SPY, which is famous as a famous catchphrase for like a lot of people. But to me, that's just silly, right? It's just absolutely silly because you're expecting, right, to repeat the same strategy on something that doesn't stay or do the same thing every day. Some days you're building a range, some weeks you're building a range. One of the things I've noticed a lot is that over the last month and a half, that we have been building these overhead ranges on the Qs and SPY. I mean, more than that. People have been complaining and even saying that this, ICT is broken, like all these different strategies are broken. They changed the algorithm. No, you're in a monthly area of or weekly area of consolidation. And that doesn't always happen either. right? Because typically when you pick a direction, you're moving for weeks. Just like you breathe in for weeks, you breathe out for weeks. And the same thing that happens on the 24-hour where you breathe in and breathe out, that coincides. So, I mean, you look at that and like when one of the most important things I've ever learned is to grab my cash and run. I look at this as a bank robbery. I'm not staying in the bank to enjoy the scenery or see, hey, you got an extra dollar? I know what I'm here for. I know what I need to grab. I grab what I need to grab. If it works out in my favor, I get out of there and I move on. I look for a new bank, a new opportunity. I do this constantly and I will completely. I mean, SoFi actually was a stock that I shorted, and it took me two failed tries to get it right because I was looking at this big, overhead, and I was like, nah, man, even with all of this volume underneath you, I think that we could, at minimum, sit back down and hit $18, um, and it did. And since then, I haven't paid attention to it at all, right? Because I got one nice clean move down and then this. It made a new low into that empty space, but I'm done with it. I did what I, set out to do, accomplished what I set out to accomplish, and I move on. And there's so many stocks that are setting up right now, prepping for you to take money from them potentially. All right. So to officially correct this, okay, we don't have any equal lows, right? This is not points of contact. So using your peers, right? We want to see a range where price is encapsulated, right? Not a massive range, right? Where price is all over the place, but where price cannot escape over a long period or decent period of time. Um, that, right? So you're going to notice, right? As I move through this homework, it all looks the same, guys. Train your brain, right? That's not It's the same thing. I'm looking for it over and over and over and over and over again. And it's these points of contact on both sides. Oh my God. We don't like that. Yeah, let's never do that again. Sorry about that, everybody. The alerts go crazy. Um, so areas of consolidation encapsulated with clear points of contact on both sides. And that is what you're going to be looking for. SoFi, that was just I just moved that line on SoFi and it had an alert on it. So do you feel like you have a better understanding of that, JM? Talk to me. Yeah. Okay. Can I elaborate on the original question? If price breaks the box and comes back, it has to start over. If it breaks the box, and so what was that example again? Hold on, let me see. There you go. Let's do this. So I think it's fair, right, for you to encapsulate, right, what's relatively clear. I can see some points of contact down here at 1763. Is this a box? No. Is this a range? Oh, shit. Oh, my bad. I don't know what the hell just happened. I think I just connected on my phone. Sorry. Go back to There you go. Yeah, I switched to my phone on accident somehow. Okay. So check this out, right? Is this possibly a range? Yes. Yes. But is it a box, guys? Is it what we just covered? Is it this? No, 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 right? It's not the box. That is specifically what I am looking for. Now, can we encapsulate and dive into this and probably find some elements that are very similar? Yes. Can we find some setups that are already getting ready to take place? And because again, I'm looking for this one phenomenon because it does provide clarity. When I have something like this, I do have to dive in. I do have to put in more work. That's fine, but it cannot be managed the same way. How are you going to punch through this? Right? If you go down, if you lose your floor, wherever that may be, where do you think we're likely going to go? Probably down to the green candle, which would then, what, extend it that big? You might have a massive box that you don't even see, and this could be cost basis. So, how do I manage that? Like this. First of all, box or range. Use your eyes. Box or range, real quick. Really? Slow down on the answers. You sure? It's pretty crazy, huh? That's when we start seeing the boxes, right? If you saw that before I drew it, you got it, right? Box or range, right here. Hmm. It's got all the elements. Potentially make a box. I would say right now we'd probably dub this a range as of right now, but elsewhere, so 2 hour, right? Now I can break this down even further. So let's just go ahead, and this is what I like to do with every single trade, right? One must be right there. So I like to draw lines in the sand, right? And just come to clear conclusions. Clear conclusions. This, which is being refused, pay attention to how price behaves here. Yanked down, right? Here, 3 candles on the 2 hour, down. What's holding you up? What's this, guys? Quickly, box or range. There you go. Okay, everybody's got it. Or whoever answered. Range. Can it be used the same? Yes. All right. Price is bouncing, pushing off of that exact level. So now we're building our blueprint. So what's below us? And this is not something I would necessarily trade, but just to show you that we can, again, be using the Potter box on any time frame in order to solve problems. So you might be invested in something that doesn't look like a trade that you would take, but you can still break it down. So if we lose that cost basis, right, where's the low? The first target would be the floor because it's not a box, it's a range. So you would have 1797. Assuming that that breaks, I'd be looking here at 1787, right? Not a box, but just a simple floor. Why is it bouncing there? Because of this, right? So anything underneath that, and we could look at SoFi short with empty space directly in here with a 1745 and a 1720 target underneath us. So rather than get stuck trying to figure out, right? And I'm not saying that I'm just using this as a teaching opportunity because when you can't see something, yes, you can, just not here, right? Zoom in, just like any good scientist, right? Just staring at a leaf, trying to figure out how photosynthesis works. You got to zoom in. Terrible analogy. That's all right. we keep it going. All right, now let's see. Last little bit of homework here, and we'll go ahead and keep moving here. I just want to make sure everybody understands because this is why the class is not huge. So like a giant one-on-one. All right, you got this thing flatter than a pancake, but I do see your points of contact. I do see the waves. It's more of candles sideways, and you do have the daily up, which again takes away from what might be available to be seen. Let's take a look at cat. It looks like what you were seeing is that up there. Okay, I'll accept it. No, it's a box. It's a box. So let's again look. See how that candle slips out, but it slips out at the beginning. And you reestablish this as the overhead high for sure. So that allows the box to be created. But if you got a dip like that in the dead slap center of it, nah, that's different. But yeah, that's good. All right, let's see. I don't like being wrong. Here's another. Oof. Better get used to it, Chief. That is correct, though. That is also obviously correct. It would be, again, it does have the waves, but the waves are all encapsulated in single candles. You can still see it. This is definitely it, for sure. All right. Last one. Bring your floor up. Yeah, bring your floor up. Trying to see if that's equal. I already have that. No, that's correct. That is correct. I think that's acceptable. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good one. And then this right here, I like that you did encapsulate that as a potential future box. So yeah, has everything you need in it. Points of contact are on point. All right. So how does everybody feel now that we've done that homework? Or is everybody, do you guys feel like you're seeing boxes clear? If you're not, now's your time to speak up. I think I did. They might have skipped it. Where did you post it up there? Way up high? Or did you post it in one of the old homeworks? Oh, you posted in the old homework, didn't you? Is that where everybody put their other box? Oh my God. Hold on. Let's see. Oh no, that's not it. Better just disappointed that I still didn't get it right. Did you learn? Don't associate being wrong with being in trouble or something not. That is always there's no risk. There's no risk here. You should be happy, right? Because now you know. Let me see. I tell that to my son all the time because he doesn't like getting in trouble. And I always make sure I elaborate. I say, are you in trouble or are you learning? Right. So it's not a bad thing. You're not losing anything. And you don't want, I'm trying to help you here with something that I struggled with. You don't want to associate an opportunity to learn, right? And not every time that we have to learn something is it going to feel good. But if this is, again, a padded room, you have nothing but to do but learn. And it's not a bad thing. So hold a grudge against yourself. That's what helps me the most. Okay. That's great. Yesterday was demoralizing. You handled it well. We let you down. You guys didn't let me down. No, what are you guys talking about? Oh, did I expect you guys to be pros? This is some of your guys' first times going through this. We gotta be able. Listen, expend the energy on being disappointed in yourself when you fucked something up. But this is your first time learning. Give yourself some grace. I I called say when all day, stressed out about finding the box. Oh, well, you did it here. You damn sure did. Candle, wick, good rotation. Obviously, very tight consolidation, but that is correct. Yeah, so good job on that one. I feel like I understand the boxes, how to draw them, but I do get confused on how to trade them. Rotation is just the movement between support and resistance. You're just rotating. Yeah. Would you would you rather waves, touches? I mean, this is, it's not candles. You're doing everything that I need to see in a box. Like it's different than, like this, right? That I can't give you that a box. Yeah, obviously you didn't draw that. But with this, I can actually track, right, the points of contact on both sides and its journey back and forth in between them. You know what I mean? So like uh, although every single day you captured that range, it still has the waves. So Rogue, not the attitude, man. So I mean, again, I'm here, and I'm. What questions do you guys have? What charts do we need to go over? I think one thing is you do need to be looking for stocks that give it clear, right, or give you clear pictures. I mean, not to highlight just hers, but the Empress posted a lot of really solid um, charts, and they were clear boxes. And so, one thing I want to emphasize to everybody in here is that is exactly what you are looking for. And when you see it, it's not hard to chart, and that's the point, right? It's those are the ones that we're focused on. And again, I also don't want to confuse folks and have them, the being able to utilize the 50% mark of anything, right? Of a range gives you an edge, right? So if you can even just spot range, you're off to a good start. But I think the point here is we're looking for clear boxes, clear consolidation, or 4 hour lower time frame boxes leading into empty space, right? So if I show you Amazon, right, does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions on that? On what happened here? Right? Even down to the lower time frame where you do in fact make a new low. Does this confuse anybody in this chat right now? Anybody? It confuses you? On how to exactly to use ranges? Ranges are like monkey bars. Every single rung, the floor, cost basis, and the ceiling is a place to grab onto. You grab one, you get the next one. Ranges in a box? Why are you worried about ranges in a box? If you have a box, then your focus is on the box, not the range. It confuses me as to why didn't it do what we think it should do, which is go up, get that empty space has been ranged for a while, that along UNH. Yeah, I went over Neo. Somebody had that one. So that is discretionary, Dre. That's completely up to you on whether you want to use the floor or cost basis or the ceiling. The floor has to be, you have to use the stop loss of the floor, right? And that's one of the edges that you have, is that you are the floor. Cost basis gives you a straight signal up to the top and above. So that's usable, but oftentimes harder to find an actual red candle to place a stop loss on. And then the top just is taking that trade with confirmation and again the ability to set a stop loss on the top for, especially on these higher time frames with longer expiration contracts. So it confuses me as to why didn't it do what we think it should do? It just go up. Are you talking about UNH in particular? No box. That's my simple answer. You didn't pack enough volume. You had a box here that leads to nothing, right? All of these candles just hit the high. You, on this third try, have now built a box. So that, and I know that sounds arbitrary, right? But if you're going to approach a high for the third time, you got to break it, right? And because we have not been able to do exactly that without having a trigger, we've built what we needed for when we come back, which I think, UNH has a decent probability of potentially legging down here. But that being said, if you go down, right, there's, I don't see yeah, the 24-hour, right? Is this a range or is this a box? That's a range. Is this a range or is this a box? That's a range. So you got two ranges and you do everything a range says you're supposed to do. You get the floor, you get the ceiling, but nothing more. So one of the things that I like to see is price leaves, breaks the overhead. That lets you know you have enough volume and comes back and retest. Or when you hit that third time, you build a box. Or second time, you build a box. And you'll find this to be true on lower time frames as well. This is not a punchback, right? Now, if we go down, bounce, and pop back up and hit 288, yeah, solid green candle right here, hell yeah, that's a punchback, and that's a great setup. Right now, you could already be preparing for this, right? By setting alerts at like 285. I'll be right there at that wick. And you could probably set alerts right here so that way you know when it's falling. It's got empty space underneath it and a gap. Now, with Amazon, this is range. You have a clear overhead, right? All of this is just bouncing off of the floor. Only when you go make a new low and bounce off of something that you haven't before do you move through cost basis, retest it, and explode out. There's a trigger overhead. That's on the 4-hour. The 24-hour, right? I mean, you could actually probably say the same exact thing. Price opened lower than every single one of the candles, reclaimed its floor, punched through the box, and made a new high. That is the punchback. We are looking for a break of the 50% mark to distribute the volume to the upside. This, does anybody not see this? Now, to what you just said, Empress, the range is in a box. Do not, that right there, if you highlight just that spike, that's a range. But the floor gets reclaimed, cost basis gets hit, cost basis gets broken, it gets retested, and it breaks. How did I know that Amazon was going to explode? Because of the amount of days that it stayed sideways. I'm not oversimplifying that. That is literally layman's terms is the terms. This leads to this, right? Period. This leads to that. That's one of the first concepts that became extremely clear to me, right? Because I was getting my ass handed to me in here and then watching what I thought was going to happen later on, and move later. So the concept is simple and ancient. I mean, really, A consolidation of price leads to expansion. I have a system that obviously helps me front run a break when that consolidation is lost. You lose your floor, you then reclaim it, and then you move through the 50% mark. That's when I am promised a new high. And why did I know that it was going to explode? Because you don't have any resistance above you. It's just that simple. The concept of this strategy, and I don't want you guys to overcomplicate this. In reality, right? This in simple terms, I am looking for boxes and looking for empty space. Obviously, defining the boxes, right, is the second question. But the simplest concept here, right, is that I am looking for stocks that have stopped moving because I know that that is what leads to their inevitable movement. That's simple. But now I'm encapsulating the range that holds them together, range or box, and I'm finding the floor and I'm finding the ceiling and I'm looking for the candle close break of structure, right? And then we're going to flush. Now, I don't expect for everybody in here to get this immediately, but if you have a bad attitude about it or you don't think you're going to get it, I don't know, man. You better think differently. You better, it's not, you have to, again, it's not delusional, right? There's some science behind it. If somebody who doesn't think they're going to get it, right? And dude, life's too short not to just believe in it, right? Or believe in whatever it is that you are doing. But who's going to see the most hurdles? Who's going to know that those hurdles were coming and then trip over them regardless? Somebody who is only focused or who doesn't think they're going to make it, because then they have proof to justify. Now, again, to the science of this, you ever bought a new car? Did you start seeing that car everywhere? And I forget what it's called, of course, but it is trying to remember what the actual name of it is. I'm blanking on it right now. Neil analysis, um, but it's literally a filter inside of your brain, and you decide how that sees by what stimuli you introduce or what you think. So if you think, right, that you're not going to do it, your brain's going to be looking for every reason why it isn't going to work to back up and justify the claim you just made. This is how confirmation bias happens, right? So again, I'm just saying that as, again, this has nothing to do with the Potter box, but it does have everything to do with learning. So yeah, well, maybe that's why I couldn't remember the name Lakis, because it was that. So yeah, the Bieder-Meinhof phenomenon, right, is also known as the frequency illusion. Occurs when you suddenly notice a specific car model or concept after recently becoming aware of it. This happens due to selective attention confirmation bias, where your brain becomes more aware of new information, leading you to believe that the new car is appearing more frequently than it actually is. Essentially, once you focus on a particular car or this, right, your brain starts to see it everywhere, even if it was not more prevalent. And that has everything to do with learning these boxes. You're going to see them everywhere. And that's going to be a problem because you're going to have to highlight the ones that matter, the higher time frame ones, and then you work your way down. Do you look at Amazon red candle? Uh, do I look at the Amazon, the red candle open up on the ceiling and flushed right here? Uh, yes, actually. Yeah. So can anybody tell me? Actually, we just talked about this, did we not? Last night? Yeah, we did. We talked about this last night. 1, 2, 3, no support test, gap up to resistance per the rule, balls in seller's court. You didn't have anything to come back to. You did bounce at cost basis, right? But you got trapped. Ooh, look at that. It all works. It's all mechanical. One of the issues is that a lot of people expect for higher time frames to move just like the lower ones, so they get clapped using shorter expiration contracts when they should be using 2 to 3 weeks out. Do I always start on the 24-hour? Always. The concept is simple. If what occurs on the lower time frame occurs on the higher time frame in the same capacity, a box, a punchback, two or three candles moving outside of that box to its next target, then I focus on the higher time frames because I want the bigger break. It's just that simple. Wait, is this an example of where it hits the top three but never? Yes, yes, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about yesterday, about price never coming back, right? You come back down, you bounce, you retest and build off of this, but you immediately shoot back up. You come down. Look, the top of red candles, guys. I mean, this is literally a stair step up. See, look at the top of the red candles. Look where you don't go. You end up gapping up to resistance. Price immediately pulls back in pre-market. You open up underneath the floor. Price falls. The lower time frame is meant to build the trading plan around what you just perceived on the 24-hour time frame. I found a 24-hour box, right? I want to short it because there's empty space. How do I do that, right? Lower time frame is typically where we can find, right, where that can happen. Nope. Yes, but nope. Actually, so this is where I would have to use a range, folks. I don't have a box, right? And this is the next level, right? Is being able to interpret somebody. I just saw somebody ask, how do I use a range? The concept is simple, right? But the same concept is applied. I'm finding the top of that range right here. I'm finding the bottom, and I'm looking for candles to get trapped or fall underneath it. Once the 50% mark is broken, look where the candle stops, on the floor. Look where it retests, the floor. So I can use it there. Can I explain why I loved Tesla today? I can explain this, and this is where you get into the upper levels of analysis with this system. Actually, let me ask you guys, why do you think I took a short position speculatively on Tesla today? Somebody who's new, preferably. Not because of the gap. I'm looking to take it to the floor or maybe even lower. So it is speculation. Yes, it is speculation, but it also cost me $3,000. Actually, it cost me $3,600. I like that. Spartan. Rejection off of the ceiling. Three and blue. Yes, three taps. Or two maybe. But you go down here. Now, I see this, right? I see that as a basically failed punchback today. We failed to go through it. We failed to reclaim it. Price pushed off of the floor and drove down. So I took my position. However, I also grabbed cheap out of the money 415 calls for the end of the week so that if I am wrong, A, bouncing calls off of this and flipping it back up to the upside, I'm already going to see volume on my contracts because it's Tesla. But also, I would be able to potentially let that run for this overhead right here, which is the only and the gateway to ripping up to 414, 415. Well, you see, I speculate with three band skis, but you also have to think I grabbed a longer expiration. So I have the ability, and plus I have a pretty good entry. Um, Essentially tomorrow I'm going to be utilizing that floor, right? And that's it. Basically this range here is going to be, this is the majority of the volume. So if we reclaim that, I'll start looking at an exit. The target, what do you think? Juicy first, all right? We want to get down there. I want that 15-minute empty space. And then again, right? And this is where we can come to the conclusion. This is a range, folks. Does it still work the same? Yes. Does it promise me a new high? Obviously, not immediately. We do get the rip though, once that breaks. So you can still use them in the same way. You just don't have the promise of a new high. Screen's frozen. Are you sure? So, I might be wrong, but I can still end up being right. Frozen. Moving. Ah. You're not looking for a box to box break? Oh, let me tell you what I'm actually doing. Here's and this is again, we're getting outside of the Potter box, but I want to tell you guys what I'm thinking, right? A couple of days ago, or maybe weeks ago, Hughes exhausted, or was it IWM or Q's? Yeah, IWM. So I'm going to explain this. If you're lost, I get it. This is me inventing the Potter box, using the Potter box every single freaking weekday and on Sundays, taking requests. Um, Obviously, you learn more and more about how price interacts with one another, how exhaustion occurs. So let me explain this, and I'm going to keep it simple. All right, and I'm just going to narrate how price moved here, and then hopefully you can get the idea. And then what this hopefully does is lead you to start narrating. All right, price loses its floor, and it gaps down. Okay, simple concept. It gaps down 2A overhead right here, and it bounces. It goes back up, and it accomplishes something. It grabs a floor. Price gaps down again, moves down, hits a wick, or actually hits structure, bounces back up again, hits the floor that we tried to reclaim. So we're exhausting, right? We're just used 2 days of volume to get absolutely fucking nowhere. Price then gaps down again from 258.75 to the floor and bounces and does recover the floor. Price gaps down again. How many times did that happen, guys? 1, 2, 3. So let me ask you this, right? You have a job to do. I give you this job and I say, you need to go and break 263 on this chart, right? And you expend on the first day a shit ton of buying power that you have. And it gets there. The next day, gaps down, you're in a hole. Buyers do try it again. They go for the floor. You still can't get it. You just expended more buying power, more gunpowder. Last time, and you freaking put all you got into it, and it amounts to nothing. Price closes red, opens up, retest, clears all gaps, right? The top gets tested, and the bottom, we sit. So I took a short. That's why I took a short. So buyers can't get through. Now, the box is again becomes a simpler and simpler concept. Narrating price is also how you get to understand how price interacts with one another, right? These levels react. Uh, the fourth candle, the red candle, I swung here. On that third candle, did the floor get reclaimed? On this candle, the floor got reclaimed, right? If this is my floor, this price left it, reclaimed it, right? This price gaps down, holds it, bounces. This IWM today play was good. Yeah, this play was pretty straightforward, actually, right? You close, reclaim the first candle over here to your left, right? Price opens up above the previous day's high. Green candles up above, same level, right? This is actually the reason that I took a short tonight, right? And we'll find out if I was right. Oh, is that happening right now? Oh, oui. So you feel like Tesla is having the same expenditure issue. That's exactly correct. The same exact issue. You just did all that for a drop of blood. I'm not in the stock market to not take risk, right? Now, in the beginning, I couldn't afford these. I can now. So I take them when I see them and I put money on the line. I choose the right expiration. And I try not to go into these things with fear. I try to narrate things the same way I just narrated it to you, to walk myself through, right, what is happening. And this is something that does take experience, and that's something I cannot give you. That's something you choose to do. That's again also how you choose to interact with your choice to have experience, right? You don't have to take everything into it. And again, just to reiterate that, today was a really good example of seeing a 24-hour setup on IWM, right? And you didn't have to put a lot of money into it to get the experience, right, that you need. And I mean, just ridiculous. Yeah, the games page in the main Discord was crazy. Somebody yesterday hit a 4,500% trade. I think I showed you guys that. And today we hit a couple people hit 1,000%, 800%, 600%, all trading this empty space. So, but that only started by looking at the 24-hour this morning, right? Breaking down where we were and what needed to happen in order for us to go higher, right? Tuesday, floor gets reclaimed, cost basis gets punched. There's pockets, little pocket of box right here. We pop up, we hold our floor, we hit that overhead target, empty space, pull back to our floor once again, pop up, hit that overhead, and we actually I mean, nailed a reversal trade on this one. And I'll really quickly explain this one before we keep moving forward. So lower time frame box. I mean, this was we actually had 249 puts, which were like $1. And just because of that big influx of volume, those contracts hit like 600%. This is what I'm